right, everybody. Thank you guys for hopping in. We have so much to get to in the show today. There's so much going on in the sports world, getting very thick when it comes to college football, and it's Veterans Day. Going to get to that too. But David, so what is this? You said you had a golf thing to tell me.
I have a golf.
I don't know what this is, so please go ahead.
I found this golf challenge on social media. So you get 10 hours on your 18-hole home golf course or any 18-hole course of your choosing. And you get as many mulligans as necessary. Unlimited mulligans to birdie every single hole, all 18 holes on your home course. You get free golf for life if you do it. But if you can't achieve a birdie on every hole, you can never play golf again. Would you try it?
I get free golf for life?
If you accomplish it.
So I got a birdie. So wait a minute. So I got a birdie every hole, but I get in just an inordinate amount of
mulligans.
Unlimited. So I could hit one in the fairway, hit a bad shot, then hit it again? 10 hours?
You hit 10 putts in a row if you need 10 hours.
Do I get a golf cart?
Yes.
I'll do it.
And maybe even a driver. Because you're going to need to be hopping in the cart and hopping out.
No, see, that's the most underrated part of it. That's how you got to
the lost time on the course. I was thinking about that.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
You can't just be out there having fun.
No, this isn't a group
chugging
thing.
18.
This isn't a group thing.
No. Am I allowed to drink while I do it?
Would you want to?
Yeah, I need to get in between 3 to 6 beers.
In between 3 and 6.
If I can get to 5 beers, God, 10 hours though.
10 hours.
Like the hardest part of me telling myself to stop at 5 or drink like 4 beers, wait a while, drink 4 beers, wait a while, just to get, when the mix is right. Y'all been at the parties when that beer pong mix is right?
3 beers and a transfusion, I can get it done.
Yeah, I can do it.
So you would try it too?
I would try.
I'd do it. And
should we try it?
We should do it in video.
You can pick your course, correct?
Huh?
You can pick your course, whatever course you want.
Legitimate 18-hole course, not a putt-putt course.
No, but a place you're used to.
Yeah, you're home.
And I get free golf for life at that place. Just at that place or anywhere?
But if you don't do it, you can never play golf.
Our first child's coming in January. My golf career is over anyway. So.
That's what I was thinking.
So I might as well try it. I can't. Georgia looks to bounce back this weekend against Tennessee at home in a huge matchup. Florida State head coach Mike Norvell fires both his coordinators and probably the janitor. And the Big 12 fines Utah athletic director $40,000 for speaking his truth. I'm Jay Crain, and welcome to the Monday Fun Day edition. Crain & Company. There is so much to discuss in the sports world right now. We have college football, NFL, NBA, college basketball, and much more. And we're going to break that down here in 1 second. But I wanted to use this opening time on this Veterans Day to thank the players that are on all of our team here in the United States. Those who served and are serving, they may have a favorite specific team. We all pretty much do. But in the end, they're playing for all of us. And they're willing to do more than just lose a game for our safety and ability to be free. They willingly run into enemy fire. They train on grueling terms and grounds. And they understand that while we may not all agree on everything, we all love our country. Soldiers can be Republican, they can be Democrat, they can be independent. But at the end of the day, they are all purely American. We get to sit here in this fancy studio and talk about what this team might do or where this team went wrong. But the fact that we get to do that willingly and say whatever we want is a testament to those who stormed the beaches in Normandy, endured horrible trench warfare in World War I, and were willing to die in a random jungle in Vietnam. There's no better team, and there are no better team members than what we have. And while we may squabble over policy or this or that, that's a great thing when they get told not to ask questions, just go get after it for the most noble cause out there, and that is our cause as Americans and being part of the greatest experiment in human history. So let's get into the sports stuff. We're going to have a ton of fun because that's what we do and that's what we love. But at some point today, take a moment to think about all the people who drew their last breath defending us and those who continue to be willing to do so. God bless our veterans and their families because you are the best of us and no box score will ever tell that story. Mm-hmm. David Cohn, Michigan quarterback. My brother, Blaine Crain, former Western State, Colorado wide receiver. Quickly, guys, this Tennessee-Georgia game's coming up. I want to break this down. We want to get to the chat. The phone line's open, 2:45 p.m. Central. Want to hear from you. Hit that subscribe button. But quickly on this Veterans Day, always, I think, so crucial to take a moment to, recognize the people that are doing that. We have friends that are in the military. I have family members that were in it. It's amazing what they go through. And that's why I'm officially proud to say that Auburn is out of the running. I am now putting all my fandom into Army. Let's go.
Oh, okay.
Let's go.
Service Academy and the college
I'm
football
going Army.
playoff.
It's Notre Dame next week, and we want all the smoke.
No one can argue with the Service Academy and the college football playoff. So thanks for starting the show like this. I appreciate it. Happy Veterans Day to all. My very first neighbor, Major Raymond Schumacher. My current neighbor, Ben Walker. Some of our colleagues here, some of my family members, thank you. Our audio guy, Ryan Reese, thank you for your service.
Blaine?
Look, man, I think both of y'all summed it up as much as you can.
Okay, thanks. All right, let's get to Tennessee.
That's the ultimate sacrifice. Like the ultimate sacrifice. Everything you enjoy on a daily basis, every little thing you do, the only reason you get to do that is because people are giving up their lives for what you love. So really don't take that for granted. And you never know who it is. So if you do see somebody in a military uniform, make sure you mention Happy Veterans Day today.
All right, David. Got a big one this weekend in Athens.
All right, let's do it. Georgia 7-2 hosting Tennessee 8-1. Georgia's kind of in that situation that Ole Miss was in last week. Now their back's against the wall. Now they're at home. Tennessee's going to come to town. -9 right now on the spread. Open at -8.5. It's -9 Georgia, over under 48.5.
And I've seen this, and we always look at spread movement. We love talking about betting here. And there's a method to the madness on why these moved. It started out at 8, I believe you said. It jumped all the way up to 10.5. Now it's back down to 9. I want to get to the question at quarterback for Tennessee, because that's what a lot of people are going to be discussing this week. But like you set the scene for what this means, and we got a great new segment called What They Need that we're going to talk about individual teams. But when you look at Georgia, this is an elimination game. You lose this, you're out. You're probably out of the SEC championship already. All right, but 10-2 is getting you into the college football playoff. We also did some math earlier that if you're a Big 12 or an ACC team, you're starting to get really worried about the extra spots in the playoff. But for Tennessee, you can lose this game and still finish 10-2 with that nice win over Alabama as a feather in your cap. That's why Alabama beating the shit out of LSU like they did is going to help out Tennessee at the end of the day. But if you're Tennessee, you win this one, you're pretty much locked into an SEC championship game appearance, and you control your own destiny when it comes to the conference championship and the college football playoff berth. As far as the schematics of this game, the similarities of these two teams are shocking to me. This is as similar a matchup from a what are you good at, what are you struggling at. This is one of the most similar ones that we've had. Everybody's going to be talking about that Tennessee vaunted defense, which I think they're the best defense in the country. I'll continue to say that. Going up against a Georgia offense that is struggling. And we were talking about this before we came on here. Got to call a spade, man. Georgia's not that good offensively. And Carson Beck isn't elite enough to make up for not having elite pieces around him. Everybody needs help. Some guys need it more than others. And Georgia right now, they're just not great offensively. They're an okay offense. That's how it's going to be. That's who they are right now. It's the defensive matchup on both sides that I think is going to dictate this game. That's why I like the under. So then you look at what is the main thing a defense can do outside of just getting stops. It's turnovers. Who has turned the ball over more? Georgia has really struggled with turning the ball over and Carson Beck. Being at home is going to help, but with Tennessee, is Nico healthy? Because if Nico's not healthy, all due respect to the backup, you're not taking the mayor's kid into Athens and putting up 28 points. Even if Nico is healthy, I think they'll be lucky to break 21. But this game, to me, if you have you trouble with turnovers, all right, your quarterback may be hurt, the other one's struggling, it's going to come down to the same thing I said it was going to come down to the Alabama-LSU game, and it was right. It's the run game. Who can protect the quarterback with a good run game? And when I'm looking at this matchup right now, whose defense do you trust more to stop the run? Tennessee's. But they are going on the road, and if you have a backup quarterback in there, you're going to have to go really vanilla ice cream. So Georgia's going to get a lot of cracks at that defense without being down, right? They're going to get a lot of cracks at just chipping away and chipping away. Maybe they can hit that big play. How aggressive will they be if they realize Tennessee is struggling offensively? That's a question that remains to be seen, but Carson Beck is experienced. So I hate to boil it down to be so simplistic, but that's really what this game comes down to. Who can run the ball? Who can stomp the run? Because that's going to dictate the terms. And the first team that gets behind in this game is in big trouble with the flow of this game. David, I think it's going to be ugly. I think it's going to be nasty. I think it's going to be low scoring. It's going to be overtly physical. Georgia's fighting for their life, and Tennessee's fighting to get out of the suburbs and get into a state with a pool and a gate. Right now, I don't have a prediction, obviously, but how many cracks can Georgia's offense get at this Tennessee defense if they know that there's not a threat on the other side. I think that could be the difference late in this game.
Blaine, -9 right now. What do you think about the spread, just even where it opened, where it is now, but then also winner of the game?
It feels too much. It feels like it's too much. I mean, this.
What do they know we don't know?
Well, this is the type of spread to me that says Nico might not be playing. If Nico does not play in this game, Tennessee will not win. And I think we said after watching that backup play.
I agree with that.
I don't care where you play it, at Georgia, at Kirby Smart's living room. It doesn't matter. You're not going to win this football game. One thing that obviously you're going to look at is the run game. And I think a lot of it's going to come down to, Carson Beck has been turning the ball over at an extremely high rate. 17 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. We're not used to seeing that from a Kirby Smart coach football team. What has Georgia always been good at? They're good at defense, stopping the run, stopping the pass, running the football, and limiting turnovers.
Old school saving.
That's how you win football games. That's the recipe. That's the formula to win big games late in seasons. And right now, Georgia is the complete opposite. Losing Ladd McConkey and Brock Bowers has been detrimental to this football team. Oscar Delp, to me, has been a no-show this year.
He's a possession
An
guy.
absolute no-show. ETN at running back, I'm not impressed. This daunting offensive line, I'm not impressed. And one thing I can't look at on the other side of Tennessee, if Nico plays, and how healthy is he? Okay, because Nico's legs is a big part of what he does, not only running, but getting outside of the pocket, extending plays. He's good at that. But Tennessee's defense, I agree with Jake. I don't know if they're the best, but they're top 3. And the way Georgia's playing on offense right now, I don't know how you can sit here, even this game being at Georgia, and feel comfortable about betting Georgia to win a game by 9.5 points against Tennessee.
It's David, I want to make this point quickly, and I know you're going to dive in and give the great analysis you always do. People will say, oh, well, it's supposedly an upper body injury with Nico. Well, it may not be his legs, but when you take off and run, you get hit. It's about taking those hits, trying to limit those hits. And if you take the legs away from Nico, I know against Florida, I thought he had his best game throwing against Florida. I really, really did. When you go back and watch the chances that he took down the field, putting the ball in tight windows or whatever. But if he is limited and he's not able to run, even though he hasn't run a lot this year, I'm still having a hard time in finding a way in which Tennessee is going to move the ball. And what effect does that have on Georgia offensively? Because Blaine is right. It's not just that Carson Beck is throwing interceptions. They're having to throw 7 more times a game because they can't run the ball, which is the ultimate protector. We live in a world right now where Georgia can't run the ball on offense, and we think Tennessee stops the run better than they do. Mm-hmm. Yet if Nico does not play in this game, if you're a defense, and we saw Jim Knowles do this against Michigan a couple years ago, and it cost. If you say, you know what? Well, you can't throw it. Mm-hmm. We don't think you have the balls to throw it. So why don't we just play zero coverage, put everybody in the box? But when you do that, one false step by a DB, corner, nickel, safety, one bad moment of eye discipline, one miscommunication, and it's not a first down, it's a touchdown. So I would caution both of these defensive coordinators, they're very smart men. Do not have to funnel resources to the box if you don't have to. If you can play one high and hold it down in the box, that's great with walking them down. That's fantastic. You need to go to 2 high at some points, though, and protect yourself, especially on 3rd and shorts and 2nd and shorts. Because if I'm an OC in this game, and by the grace of God, we get to 2nd and 2, that's when my shot's coming. Because they don't think I'm going to do it. And hell, I didn't think I was going to have to do it before I came in here. So there's a lot going on in this game.
Well, I love the under in this game as well, and I love the under right now in the week because I don't think it's going to go up at all, but it could come down even more if we get news that Nico's not going to play. Obviously, Tennessee's defense has yet to give up 20 points in a game this season. I mean, let me repeat, they haven't given up 20 points in a game at all this year. That's incredible, and we know what Georgia's defense is capable of when they have the right mindset, just like they did going on the road to play Texas. Like I said, it was easy to get up for that game. Now, they're in a situation that Ole Miss found themselves in last week. You're at home. You have the 2 losses. Tennessee could maybe afford another loss, but you cannot. And what I find so interesting about this matchup is like every negative point that I can make about one of the teams, I can make another negative point
about the other one. Crazy.
It truly is incredible. So, Georgia on offense, I think we've gone from saying, man, Georgia's just not playing good on offense to they just aren't good on offense, right? And I don't think that that's necessarily going to get any better. Carson Beck, we got guys smiling and laughing and celebrating that on the road losing to Ole Miss. That right there needs to be studied by itself. But Kirby Smart's the ultimate motivator. They are going to be at home. Then on the Tennessee side, not only is Nico banged up, but even if he does play, we've seen him make plenty of mistakes too. I agree with you, Jake, that I think this is the Dylan Sampson show. How great can he be in this game? And if he plays well enough, I mean, if he goes for 150 and a couple touchdowns and Tennessee takes down Georgia, which they hadn't really been able to get over that hump. We were talking about Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin last week. Tennessee needs to get over that hump, even though this may not be a must-win game. All of these getting close to the end of the season, you need to win. If Dylan Sampson really shows out, and he's the reason that Tennessee goes on the road and beats Georgia, is it time to start putting him in the Heisman Trophy conversation?
I think we got to look at the numbers. It's just going to be hard for a running back to win it when you look at Genty's numbers if it's not him. I think it's a quarterback award. I'll continue to say it. I don't think it's going to go to anybody but a quarterback, and Dylan Gabriel right now, even with the loss, I think Cam Ward is still in it. We'll see how that finishes.
Dylan Sampson right now, 1,100 yards, 20 TDs.
Yeah, I do want to bring this up because you've brought this up multiple weeks, and they still won't commit to it.
Say it. I was just about to say it. Say it.
Georgia's offense is at best when they're going up tempo.
They are. I don't understand. And I don't want to sit here and rant. Now, Mike Bobo knows a ton of offense. The staff they have over at Georgia is fantastic. And we second-guess coaching staffs on here. That's part of it. That's part of the deal. They second-guessed them when I made mistakes, right? Hindsight's always 20/20. But for the last 4 weeks, since the second half of the Alabama game that we live streamed at Innisfree, I've sat up here and I've said, I do not understand when you watch this whole year and you find the points when Georgia's operated at their best, it's when they're going fast. And they got forced into going fast in the second half against Bama because they were getting beat so badly. And I said all that week, if I was Georgia and Mike Bobo, hey, I'm trying to find explosive plays. I'm trying to find some creativity. The defense is still really good. They still have a lot of depth. Let's put our foot on the pedal and see if we can't go do something. They did it against Auburn early and it worked. Then they stopped. And they haven't really done it since. You saw it a little bit against Ole Miss and they were moving the ball. At what point does Georgia have to realize, hey, we may have to manufacture some things on offense. We may have to get a little quote-unquote gimmicky on offense because all these coaches catch all this hell. I watched Gus Malzahn catch it. I've watched Heupel catch it. But guess what? It works. You can call it a gimmick. You can call it a trick. Whatever. I don't care. If it puts the ball in the end zone or puts the ball through the uprights, that's what matters the most. But for the love of God, why has Georgia not tried to do this more? What's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to turn the ball over? You're not going to be able to run the ball? But I do think if there was a week to maybe question that, could it be this week? Could it, for this reason? I think Tennessee's going to struggle to move the ball because the quarterback's either going to be hurt or the backup's going to be playing. So do you sit here and say, you know what? Well, if we go really fast, maybe we tire our defense out because we're not moving the ball and give Tennessee a little bit of an advantage there? And do we just keep just going at the pace we're going? And again, like I said, wait for that dam to break. Do not be shocked if this game takes somewhat of a Clemson timeline. If this game looks a little bit like the Clemson game to open the year for Georgia. Stagnant first half, low-scoring first half. Eventually that second half, the dam breaks. The team that has to win it, the dam breaks. Going against that Tennessee defense, and maybe you kind of lessen it if you're out there going fast all the time. But, I mean, at some point, you got to do something. I've been sitting here screaming it for 4 weeks. Screaming it. And I'm not a Georgia fan, but y'all's ass won't do it. Y'all got beat by Ole Miss the way y'all beat people. Teams can line up and beat you with vanilla ice cream now. So if everybody can win with vanilla ice cream, at some point, put some chocolate syrup on that damn thing. Put some sprinkles on it. I don't know. Put a candy in there. Something's got to change for Georgia, and you've got a little bit of a sliver of it. I don't understand why. I don't understand why. But I do understand this. You want great coffee.
I do.
You want to wake? I got some great coffee right here in this tumbler. That's because it's from Black Rifle Coffee. All right. And in a world of mediocrity and compromise and offenses not wanting to go fast, excellence demands intention, especially when it comes to your morning ritual. And that's why the Black Rifle Coffee Company takes their mission seriously. They craft explosive coffee blends that will kickstart your day with uncompromising quality. We got Gunship. We got Power Llama. We got all time. We got a Sleepy Hollow Ichabod Crain roast. It's fantastic. David, you just got a new
The
roast.
Electric Eagle Espresso. That's what I had this
You are
weekend.
so excited.
I've been listening. I know when you're excited.
Electric Eagle Espresso. What's there not to be excited?
You get electrified. So if you head to blackriflecoffee.com right now, you can save 30% on their entire lineup of premium roasts, patriotic gear, and American-made brewing equipment. That's right, American-made. That's blackriflecoffee.com. Taste the difference that dedication to excellence makes. Taste it. All right, let's taste the
Friends, family, chat, what is up? Hit that like, hit that subscribe button. Happy Veterans Day today. We're going to start the day off with a $10 donation from Bentley. Thank you, Bentley. I'll be honest, gents, this UGA team is the most confusing UGA team I've experienced in quite some time. The only real way I can lean for UGA to win versus Tennessee is just like Cone said, they can't lose now, and teams are a lot more dangerous when their back's up against the wall.
Well, and we've seen Georgia rise to the occasion. I mean, that's what makes... Obviously, talking about who's going to make the playoff and what this tiebreaker is and whatever, that's fun and fascinating to talk about. But what I find most fascinating is who's going to rise up and nut up and cowboy up and be able to come in and put on a great performance like we saw Ole Miss did against Georgia, like we saw Alabama do against LSU when it matters the most. And I know this Georgia team, and Bentley, to your point, is not what you're used to seeing. You're used to seeing not just dominance, but physical dominance. That's a different level. It's one thing for me to run by you. It's another thing for me to run over you. Those are two different things. And we haven't seen that from Georgia. But we do know they have the talent to go out there if they put their best foot forward for 4 quarters and look really good. But it's the consistency argument again. That's what we're looking for in college football right now. Who consistently can rise to the occasion. Maybe Georgia will. Their back's against the wall, and we're going to sit here and break it down and talk about it. But never forget, Georgia's got some damn good players. They just don't have all the best ones. That's the difference in what you're seeing.
Let's go to St. Double K's. As a UG fan, we're going to get dog walked by Tennessee. Beck can't get it done. You need a guy who can make up, and he can't. And Bobo couldn't coach himself to not piss his pants on a toilet seat on a Saturday night.
Again, that's what I was thinking too. And then you offset that by saying Tennessee 3 weeks in a row got shut out in the first half of their games. And then the fourth one, they scored 7 in the first half.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got their own problems.
And I've seen this on social media, too, and I love our Texas fans that follow us here. But I see all these Texas fans talking shit about Georgia. What? Georgia punked y'all at home. Mm-hmm. At home. I don't want to hear any slander about Georgia from anybody at Texas, because I'm telling you right now, I don't think Texas is a top 5 team in the SEC, at least right now. And that'll be a discussion, for later. But the way I'm looking at it is, if you're Georgia and you are caged, and look, you put the backup in, it's not going to be a lot better. Carson Beck's the best one you got right now.
No, Georgia just doesn't have the guys on offense.
They don't. They don't
have the names we're used to seeing.
Well, if Carson Beck had Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey and these other guys, he would look like a hero because he had elite pieces around him. The difference with Stetson Bennett was a damn good quarterback. You could argue whether he's elite or not or whatever. But Stetson had a lot of weapons around him, and he knows how to use them. If you put Stetson Bennett on this Georgia team, I don't think it's much better.
But I can sit here and say that Stetson could create a lot better
with his legs. And that's the difference. If I was a head coach in today's game, I don't know how you don't have a dual threat quarterback. I get it. There's a place for, the NFLs. It's changing a little bit. It's a little bit different. But having a dual threat quarterback just as a defensive guy, even if he's not a great thrower, like Jalen Milroe scares me so much more than Carson Beck ever could. Scares me more than Quinn Ewers ever could. Because I'm having to, you don't even have to be elite at one thing. You don't need to be an elite runner or an elite thrower. If you're really good at both, it's an absolute problem. It's an absolute problem.
Let's go to Wesley Gary. He says, Bobo, as long as he keeps running up the middle, the dogs are doomed. I hate that my mother-in-law, who's almost 80, knows exactly what plays are coming each Saturday.
Well, okay, I understand your frustration, but what's your solution? You don't think they've tried to run it on the edge?
Not up tempo. Apparently.
You don't think they've tried to do speed sweeps and get the ball? They've tried everything in the run game. Here's the problem. You're just not great at run blocking. That's it. You can run it inside. You can run it outside. You can run it in between. You can run it over the top or run it underneath. It's not working because you struggle blocking. That's been the difference. Or you're not dominating blocking the way that you were. Because Etienne's a good back.
Good back. I agree.
He's a good back. But Georgia has a offensive line problem. And then you don't have an elite piece at quarterback to make up for that. You put Jaden Daniels out there with an okay offensive line, he'll make him look good because he has that capability. Carson Beck can't do that because it's out of his skill set. It's out of his skill set. All right, let's move on to this Arkansas team.
All right, we got an interesting one in Fayetteville this weekend. This is an 11 o'clock kick Central Time. Arkansas 5-4, going to host Texas 8-1. That line's minus 13.5 right now, even though it opened at minus 16.5 Texas. Over under 57.5. And another interesting point here, Arkansas was on the bye this past week. So we haven't seen Arkansas since that historic performance that Ole Miss put up on them, 63-31.
I will say this quickly before you go, Jake. There is nothing scarier than an Arkansas football team coming off a bye with nothing to lose at 11 o'clock.
In a rivalry game.
In a rivalry. It's terrifying.
They've got nothing left on the table except to ruin your hopes. That's what it is. And guess what? I think a lot of Arkansas fans, they'd be fine with that. Expectations coming in this year weren't sky high. But if you're a Texas fan, and we're going to go through these scenarios, look, you win and you're in. It's pretty simple for you. If you win the rest of your games in the regular season, and I know that's a lot easier said than done, you will be playing in the SEC championship game, and therefore you will be in the college football playoff. If you lose, there's a scenario where Texas goes 10-2 and doesn't get in, which we're going to get into later, thanks to Notre Dame. But when I look at this matchup, this is a very, very scary game if you're a Texas fan. For all those reasons you mentioned, Blaine, but this is where Bobby Petrino, with 2 weeks, can really get into that bag. I would not be surprised if you saw Travis Williams take a very similar approach against Texas than he did Tennessee. Taking gambles up front, stunning the line, right? Blitzing, pressuring. You've got nothing to lose. And you just got rolled by, think about this, you get rolled by Ole Miss. Rolled by Ole Miss. All the hopes done for SEC championship, college football playoff. Then you get into a bye week. You've got enough time to get pissed off. And then you've got 2 weeks to prepare for Texas. Texas is a very quality football team. I've got a lot of respect for Steve Sarkisian and what he's doing. But that spread right now, if you can buy that up to plus 14.5 and get it, I would take it. Texas is better than Arkansas, but if Taylon Green gets loose, he can be an equalizer for all the talent that Texas has on that front seven defensively. And Bobby P's got 2 weeks to practice for it, and he's got no strings attached in this one to do whatever. And T. Will is the same. This game, you want to talk about throwing the SEC championship race into a flux. If Texas goes and loses this game, it is going to create mass chaos down ballot, as they say, for everybody else. We talk about those tiebreaker scenarios. You want to get into them? Let Texas lose this game and then beat Texas A&M at the end. That would be just an absolute disaster for the playoff committee as well. I like Texas to win right now, but I'm telling you, this game for Arkansas, it's all the marbles, all the Razorback nuggets, all that stuff. You could feed off this one for a long time because not only would it make you look better, it could ruin a lot of what Texas would then have to do to even have a chance to make the college.
I'm trying to think, if you're an Arkansas fan here, would you rather this game be high scoring or low scoring?
Probably high scoring, I would think.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying against Ole Miss is you've proven that you can win multiple different ways in terms of like you can have a shootout with Ole Miss and win 48-45, or you can win a low-scoring game the way that you did against Tennessee, not even put up 20 points and still have a victory. Unfortunately, they didn't do that against Ole Miss, and they got blown out. And that's one thing to consider when you talk about Arkansas's defense going into this game with reckless abandon because they have nothing to lose. One thing is Travis Williams' name has been at the top of coaching boards for head coaching hires in this next season coming up. If you get blown out by 63 with Ole Miss and your next performance you go in with reckless abandon, you get blown out by Texas, that's going to be a tough look back-to-back like that. Mm-hmm. I know you're trying to do everything you can to win the game, and Arkansas as a team has nothing to lose, but you don't want to give up as many points as possible because you're playing risky football.
No, and I agree with that. But what happens if you go out there and you line up in your base stuff and you're just getting your ass kicked like what Ole Miss did to them? Because like Arkansas at first wasn't taking a lot of chances defensively.
This is the same Arkansas team that beat Tennessee.
I understand. And why did they beat Tennessee? Because I thought Travis Williams pitched a perfect game.
He did.
Play calling defensively. Travis Williams is in what I call the American Idol situation. Right? You go out for your first audition and you make it. hey, welcome to Hollywood. Congrats, you made it past the first round, past all these weirdos and people that can't sing. Now everybody's looking at you. But now the expectation has gone up and the competition is getting better. So not only do you have to perform well again, you have to perform really well against better competition. It's one thing to get that ticket to Hollywood. It's another one to keep advancing when the competition gets better and all the eyes are on you. And that next audition you had, after the big one that got you to Hollywood, you forgot the notes to the song and gave up 63. Mm-hmm. So you get another chance now to put that best foot forward. I am more interested in can Arkansas stop or slow down Texas than I am can Arkansas have the capability to score. Now, Taylor Green's gotten beat up in every game. You're going to have to use those legs in this one. You're going to have to use them heavy. You got to empty the clip. But Arkansas's got big backs. They've got strong-bodied backs. They've got 2 wide receivers that have really strong hands that can go up and get the ball, that can break tackles. I think they have the pieces to be able to score a decent amount of points in this game to stay in it. It's can they stop Texas early, and can Texas make them quit early like Ole Miss did, right? And there's another factor here. The way Quinn Ewers starts in games is typically how he finishes. So if I'm Travis Williams and I want to be aggressive again, I want to hit his ass over and over and over in the first quarter. Nothing dirty, nothing illegal, but how can I get to Quinn Ewers? Because if I get to Quinn, I get to Sark. If I get to Quinn, that gets me to Sark, I get to Texas, and that fourth quarter rolls around, that place in Fayetteville is going to be going bananas.
And how much do we really know about this Texas team?
That's what I keep saying.
How much do you really know? Because, I mean, you could go through their schedule. Obviously, that Michigan team's not who we thought they were at the end of the year. Oklahoma's not. I mean, you beat Vanderbilt by 3. You rolled Florida last week, but Florida's a bad football team. But don't worry, guys, they're going to keep Billy Napier. But how much do you know about this Texas team? How good do you think that you just said you don't think they're a top 5 SEC team?
I don't think they are.
So, if that is true, then Arkansas will have a chance to beat them.
Well,
and if they're going to, it has to be Taylor Green.
Well, if I'm a Texas fan, and I agree with you, and I think a lot of rational Texas fans are saying this, I know that Sark's a damn good football coach. I don't question their preparation coming into this game. I know if Quinn Ewers is hot early, he can be really good with the pieces they have around. The Helm kid at tight end, I don't think it's talked about enough at Texas. We talk about Colston Loveland. We talk about Terrence Ferguson at Oregon. Hell, we've talked about Oscar Delp more than we've talked about the Helm kid at tight end for Texas. I think he's a really good player. But who has Texas played on the road in the SEC this year?
They have played.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, the other game was Oklahoma. That's a neutral site game.
For sure.
You played Michigan on the road, who's not very good, as we've seen, or at least not up to the Michigan standard. So I think Texas is a good football team. I'm not saying they're bad. But how could I put them in front of Tennessee? How could I put them in front of Tennessee? Tennessee beat Alabama, right? They got a big win. Yeah, you lost to Arkansas. That's a tough loss. But when I look at Texas, I mean, you got punked by Georgia at home, right? Punked, who just got punked by Ole Miss. How could I put Texas in front of Texas A&M right now even? And I know that win against LSU doesn't look as great now that LSU got boat raced by Alabama. But I tell you what, when you look at that one loss, that loss is starting to look better and better for Texas A&M when it comes to Notre Dame. I think Texas A&M has a better win overall, and they've got a better loss overall. When you look at it, how can I put them in front of Bama, David?
So do you take issue right now? And I mean, also Texas A&M has the second loss against South Carolina.
South Carolina, they got boat raced. But I'm talking about like I value quality wins and quality losses.
I wouldn't put Texas A&M over Texas right now. I mean,
you wouldn't?
No, I mean, they just got blown out by South Carolina, and you have the loss to Notre Dame. But those two teams are going to play each other, so we'll get to see that one. But right now, the AP has Texas at number 3. So you take issue with that?
I think that's crazy.
So you would have...
They're at 3
Texas
because
A&M's
their name is
15.
Texas. That's why
Texas A&M's at 15 right now with 2 losses. You would put them over Texas?
I would put Texas A&M over Texas. Again, let's pros and cons. Let's pros and cons it. Okay, who has Texas beaten that you would consider a damn good football team?
So would you put SMU over Texas right now?
Would I put SMU over Texas?
Yeah.
With their loss coming to BYU? Mm-hmm. I don't think SMU has a great win.
Well,
I mean, who is SMU?
SMU's best win would be Louisville.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that's a great win.
I mean,
that's probably a better win than what Texas has. But again, so Texas has not beaten anybody that's pretty good. I would still say LSU is pretty good. A&M lost to Notre Dame, who's what, top 10 ranked right now? Top 10 ranked?
Correct.
And they lost to South Carolina, who let's go back and look at South Carolina. Yeah, the Kentucky win doesn't look as great now. You look at what they just did to Texas A&M. I think South Carolina's playing probably better than any team that Texas beat. Right? Who would you take? Would you take South Carolina and Michigan neutral site right now?
South Carolina.
I would. Yeah. Again, Texas hasn't shown me enough, and not that they can't, or not that they won't end up being, but I don't put them in front of Ole Miss, who just beat the hell out of the team that beat the hell out of you. Mm-hmm. I mean, we can sit here and use transitive property, and that stuff can be confusing sometimes. But I will ask, who is Texas beaten that is as good as the LSU win for A&M?
Well, again, some of the teams that them beating them has made those teams look bad, right? Like Oklahoma.
Well, that's okay. Well, take away the Texas loss.
Hold on. That's why you have to set strength of schedule at the end of the season and not at the beginning. For sure.
Of the season. I agree with that.
Judge it at the very end and then say this was your strength of schedule.
No, I agree with that. That's why right now, in this point in time, that Michigan win doesn't look as good. That Oklahoma win.
Yeah, but it doesn't look as good. Again,
okay, well, take away
because Texas went up and embarrassed you. Like Michigan could have scheduled Eastern Michigan, they'd have one.
So it's Michigan. So it's Texas's fault that Michigan lost all those other games.
I'm not sure how. I'm not sure how we got there.
Well, that's what you just said. That Texas is the reason that
crap out of teams
looks
that
bad.
Makes them
how many games has Michigan lost? 4? 5?
Michigan is, I believe, 5.
So they lost 5. That's 4 other teams than Texas. Oklahoma, take away the Texas win.
It gets to the same thing. Can you punish Texas for these teams not living up to their potential?
I'm not punishing Texas. I'm just calling out the reality of it. If Michigan was really good this year, I would say, man, Texas has got to be up there. That's a huge win over Michigan. I'm not going to punish Texas because Michigan isn't that good, but I'm also not going to kiss their ass because Michigan's not that good. I think both of those things can be true. I don't think you go over the top.
What's kissing their ass right now?
No. Having them ranked top 3 in the AP. Like having them in front of teams that have actually beaten other teams. I don't blame Texas for Michigan or Oklahoma being down, but I don't give them all the credit for Michigan and Oklahoma being down. I just think that's the way it works.
Where would you put them? Right now in Texas in the AP, where would you put them?
Where would I put Texas in the AP?
Are they top 10 team?
I'd say fringe top 10. I'd say,
but you don't even have them in the top 5 of the SEC. So,
no.
I mean, that's good.
I think Ole Miss. So Oregon. You're talking about Big Ten. Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State, and Indiana should all be in the. I think we can agree on that.
Right?
We could question Penn State's wins, whatever, if you want. But you put all 4 of them in there. I think obviously when you look at what's going on with BYU, you got to put them in the top 10 in there, being in the Big 12. The ACC right now. You can make a case for Miami not being in the top 10 if you really wanted to, but I guess I'll be nice and say that you could put Miami in the top 10.
Well, I will say this. You could question, who is Indiana beat?
No, that's enough. We're going to find out, though. Indiana's going to get their chance, right? And I think Texas is going to get their chance against Texas A&M. You got to beat Arkansas or whatever. But I would have Bama ahead of Texas. I would have Georgia ahead of Texas. Obviously, Georgia doubled them up in their own home turf. I would have Tennessee ahead of Texas. And I think you can make a really good case for A&M to be ahead of Texas. But the beauty in that one is they get to play each other. That question's going to answer itself. So that's what's so crazy about this year. I think you could make a case. We did the same thing with Miami last week. We said we're going to have Miami at 3 or 4? But if they lose a game, if you're going to disrespect BYU in the Big 12 by them being undefeated, right, and then putting them at 9, if Miami loses a game with their schedule in the ACC, you got to drop them back. If you're going to go by what's fair, at least in my eyes. So I think you can make an argument that Texas should be 5. I think you can make an argument that Texas should be 13. I think that's how crazy this has been.
And you'd have to have Notre Dame over them in your scenario.
Yeah, even though that Northern Illinois loss, man, I don't think Notre Dame's getting in at 10-2.
No way. We'll break that down.
No, but later. If they beat Texas A&M and you're talking about Texas A&M should be above Texas with 2 losses, then you'd have to put Notre Dame over them.
Yeah.
That's
a better win than what Texas has.
So I guess this is kind of what we're talking about. Dialer Turd, what's up, man? He says, thanks, understood. You can't control teams that don't play to their potential or have key injuries, etc. You can only play who is scheduled.
Yeah, that's why I don't overreact when a team doesn't work. And it work out the way we thought. And again, I thought Michigan was going to be better than what they were. Oklahoma's about right on about where we had them. And then I don't underrate it because you can only play who you have on the schedule. But that doesn't mean that I totally negate what that schedule consists of at this point in time when we're looking at it and saying, okay, because we're late enough in the season where I think we can draw a decent amount of conclusions about what teams ended up being what we thought they were going to be and what teams weren't. It's just, I think there's like a balance like right in the middle that you have to hit.
All right, let's go to the Gambler. What's up, man? He says, Texas is the most complete team in college football, the most 5-stars on the team, one of the best quarterbacks, and their defense is top 10, in my opinion, right now. And I'm coming from the desert here, Jake. I think you are crazy.
Man, then what happened against Georgia? Y'all got all the 5-stars, and y'all are the best in all 3 phases. I mean, y'all look like you couldn't throw your way out of a paper bag against them. And then they got their pants pulled down by Ole Miss and spanked on that ass in front of everybody and God the other day. Texas is a good football team. Please don't mistake what I'm saying. I think Texas is a good football team. I think there's a lot more teams that are like Texas at the top than we've ever had before. I mean, it was to the point where Quinn Ewers got taken out of the game against Georgia within the first 3 to 4 drives. I don't think Texas is a complete team. Oregon, to me, is a complete team, but to be honest with you, there's not a lot of complete teams out there that I've seen. That just at the top, I'm like, damn, offense, defense, and special teams. They're really, really good. All right, one more we got.
Let's go to Airstrike 480 Cornhole. What a username. He says, if Texas loses to A&M, they don't have a single top 25 win, would they make the playoff?
That's what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, it's a great segue into what we want to talk about next. I will say, when we went through it and we kind of war gamed it earlier, and tomorrow we're going to dive a little bit deeper into this. But I wrote down the 10 spots. Guys, if Notre Dame gets in this thing, it's about to get real weird. And to the point where I don't think the Big 12 or the ACC is going to get 2 teams in, because you got 12 spots. You got 5 that are automatically given out, right? So there's 7 left. David, I think you're exactly right. 4 Big 10 teams are getting in, including the conference champion. So if the conference champion gets in and 3 other Big 10 teams get in, that takes it from 7 spots down to 4 spots. So if you put the SEC runner-up, whoever loses the SEC championship game in, now it's down to 3 spots. If Notre Dame makes it, now it's down to 2 spots, which means there could be a fight over, I don't know how you get through this, 3 teams, 2 spots. Bama, Georgia, and Texas. So, there's not a brand that's usurping the other brands. If it goes the way it's going and Notre Dame wins out, the committee is going to be in a very, very tough spot. But that's a great segue into some of these playoff scenarios, David. We each picked a couple teams. You want to start with?
Let's do one.
Let's do one.
Let's each do one.
All right, let's do one.
The other one for
you start, David. I'm interested in yours, man.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to start with Alabama. This is the way that Alabama can make the college football playoff and really host one of those 5 through 8 seeds. I think the percentage chance that Alabama can make the SEC championship game is so small right now. I'll touch on that just a little bit at the end, but here's how Alabama can make it, even if they don't get a shot to make the SEC championship game. Obviously, you need to win out and finish 10-2. So that's against Mercer, and Mercer 9-1. Leading the SoCon.
Let's go Mercer.
Team.
The Bears.
No, not a bad football team. At Oklahoma, and then the Iron Bowl will be at home. All right, so you need to win out, be 10-2. Then, again, this is what you really need if you're just focused on the college football playoff. Go ahead and let Tennessee beat Georgia. Right? Go ahead and pull for Tennessee to beat Georgia. That'll give Georgia a 3rd loss, sort of clear the way, and that will make your loss to Tennessee look less bad. Go ahead and pull for Texas A&M, pull for Texas to beat Texas A&M the last game of the season, assuming that they take care of Arkansas and win out the rest of the way. That gives Texas A&M their 3rd loss after the loss to Notre Dame and South Carolina. Your 10-2 is going to look better than their 9-3, and Texas and Tennessee would then play in the SEC championship game. One has to get the automatic bid anyway, right? Missouri and Ole Miss, you're hoping one of them picks up a 3rd loss just to clear the way. But even if all those teams finish 10-2, Alabama from a brand perspective and a win over Georgia, I think is going to be looking pretty good. So that's for the SEC. Notre Dame, pretty much all of us are going to be talking about, they need Notre Dame to pick up that 2nd loss, right?
Yep. Everybody should be rooting for Notre Dame.
Almost every one of the scenarios we're talking about needs that. Alabama's no different. You need Notre Dame to pick up that second loss. In the Big 12, you need BYU to just go ahead and win out and be undefeated, right? The Big 12 is going to get one team in, and it's going to be first four bye. Why not let it be a team that's undefeated so that they give every other team or any other possible team that third loss, like Colorado, like Kansas State.
It's the bid stealer situation.
Exactly. Go ahead and pull for BYU to go undefeated. Alabama then in the ACC really needs Miami to beat SMU in the conference championship, so SMU picks up that second loss. With their strength of schedule, that's not looking good. Or for Miami to beat Clemson and give them a third loss, assuming that they were to win out en route to the ACC championship. And then, like you said, in the Big Ten, it's going to be real hard for four teams not to get in. I guess you could pull for the Buckeyes to lose to Indiana and lose a rivalry game to Michigan, but I don't see it. I think after that scenario, assuming that Penn State doesn't lose a game on the way out or something crazy doesn't happen, maybe what you could pull for is for the Buckeyes to blow Indiana out, to make the one loss they do have against the best team look really, really bad. Now, that's a scenario if you don't make the SEC championship game. Obviously, for Alabama, let's just say you did lose to Mercer. A 9-1 Mercer team, you lose to Mercer and Vanderbilt in the same year. Alabama could still make the college football playoff. You need to pull for all of the opposite stuff to happen in the SEC, though. Then you need Georgia to beat Tennessee to pick up that second loss. You need Tennessee to go on the road and lose to Vanderbilt. You need Texas A&M to beat Texas, find your way into the SEC championship.
David, I want to ask you, I'm trying to think of the best way to ask this because it's kind of convoluted, so I'm going to think of the simplest way in my brain to ask this. When we were talking about this before the show, I think Alabama is under a fascinating circumstance, and I think you just laid that out beautifully there, is the path to get you to the SEC championship could hinder your ability to get to the college football playoff. Your path to get guaranteed in the college football playoff and not in the SEC championship may be a safer bet in the long run, which is weird because that dichotomy, we've never seen that before. And what you said was exactly right. If you're Alabama, is a burden, you've won a bunch of SEC championships. I know you want to win them. I get it. I understand that. But is a bird in the hand better than one in the bush? Because 10-2 definitely, gets you in the playoff, at least I think, with that win. But getting that secured spot in the playoff with Notre Dame winning, it comes down to Tennessee and Georgia, which you laid out. Would you rather give Georgia that third loss to eliminate them from the college football playoff?
Even though your win over them looks
a little worse, but your loss to Tennessee looks better, right? As opposed to Tennessee beating Georgia, now them both having two losses, and we get into that three-headed scenario of, well, Bama beat Georgia, all right? Georgia beat Tennessee, but Tennessee beat Bama. Like it's a fascinating thing to watch play out. That's why I thought it was great. I'm going to go outside the SEC here. I'm going to go SMU because this is very interesting to me. What we've looked at right now, if Notre Dame, with my projection at least individually, if Notre Dame gets in there, I don't think two teams get out of the ACC or the Big 12. I think you're only going to get the one rep, the conference champion winner. But if you're SMU right now, it's very simple at the top for Rhett Lashley. Win, and you're in. You got 3 games left. There's 3 conference games. You win 2, you've pretty much clinched this bad boy when you look at the way the scenarios and the tiebreakers went out. But win, and you're in, and you need your record to look as good as possible in case you were to lose in that conference championship to maybe have a shot at 11-2 with your one loss. That's why BYU winning was big for them, to a BYU team that happens to be undefeated and leading the Big 12. That loss looks a whole hell of a lot better than it did in the beginning. The second thing you're rooting for, you want Pitt to beat Clemson and win out. That's what you want. You got the tiebreaker over Pitt. You want that win to look good over Pitt, Pitt to stay in the top 25. They go on the road and they beat Clemson. It eliminates Clemson pretty much from the ACC contention and overall for the college football playoff, at least in my opinion. But it makes you look better. It guarantees you a spot, and it helps your strength of schedule. Then you want Syracuse to beat Miami. Because if Pitt beats Clemson and wins out, and Syracuse beats Miami, guess who you get in the ACC championship? You get Pitt again. A team that you beat. I think Pitt is a better matchup for them than Miami or Clemson is. I think deep down, Rhett Lashley would tell you that. But I'm to the point now, guys, where, the SMU prediction to go to the ACC championship, I'll beat my chest, all that stuff's great. I didn't see anybody else that predicted that in all of the college football sphere. But if you get to the conference championship game in the ACC alone, because Big 12 with BYU, if they end up undefeated going to the Big 12 championship, We'll kind of see how the cards lay out. But for the ACC right now, the way it's looking for me, I think y'all getting one in.
So if SMU goes to the ACC championship game at 11-1 and loses, and then they're 11-2, your 2 losses are most likely going to be to teams that make the college football playoff, because the team you lose to in the ACC championship game is going to get a first-round bye, and BYU is looking like they're on a course to possibly win the Big 12.
That's exactly right.
And so, again, you need some of these other scenarios, whereas many of these teams with 2 losses pick up a third loss.
And SMU's best win would be Louisville.
SMU's best no, it would be Pitt. It would be Pitt. Pitt's got 1 loss. If Pitt wins out, Pitt has 2 losses now, I believe. If Pitt wins out, they could finish top 25. You go 10-2, and you could possibly see them, obviously, in the ACC championship. We'll see.
Well, my team we've already talked about today is the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Right now, you look at their best wins, I would say Texas A&M and Louisville. I think you have the worst loss, and that is Northern Illinois. But if you win out, I think we can all sit here and say if Notre Dame loses another football game, they're not going to be in the playoffs.
They got to be out.
They're not going to be in the playoffs. I've bit my brain trying to find a way that you would make it. You're just not getting in. But right now, if you do win out, not only are you getting into the playoffs, but you will be hosting a playoff game. And for Notre Dame, that home field advantage will be huge. And we can go through their schedule right now. The rest of you have Virginia, and then you play those boys. You play Army, and that game's a neutral site game with be it those traitors up there at Yankees Field. I didn't want to talk about it. I'm glad y'all lost the World Series, and to you apologize. But right now, Notre Dame, you win, you're in. You're in the playoff. Not only are you in, but you are hosting. If you lose another game, Virginia, Army, or USC, you are not making it into the playoff.
All right, so let me ask you this then. Let's say Notre Dame loses the last game of the year on the road at USC, all right, and they're 10-2. Let's say that Texas A&M beats Texas the last game of the year. Let's say Texas A&M finishes 10-2 but doesn't make the SEC championship game. How can Texas A&M make the college football playoff at 10-2 and Notre Dame sitting there at 10-2 and they have the head-to-head over them, but they just have a really ugly loss against Northern Illinois?
See, that is the one scenario where I think a 10-2 Notre Dame could possibly get in. That's the one. But I think in order for that to happen, you'd kind of have to pigeonhole it you have to thread that needle there. But I wonder if that 10-2 Notre Dame team would get left out if BYU at 12-0 lost
to Colorado.
The conference championship game.
To Colorado.
Maybe that's a scenario where the committee says, you know what? Notre Dame and Texas A&M, they're not the only 2 teams left. Are there a couple other teams we need to look at in this mix because they actually cancel each other out a little bit?
Because then BYU would float that to that 11
because
seed
that's exactly. But then again, to me, you can think the SEC is the best conference in the country. I tend to. Most years, I tend to prescribe to that. But if Texas A&M is 10-2 and Notre Dame is 10-2, and it comes down to one of those 2 teams, you do have to give it to Notre Dame.
Yeah, because
head-to-head matters. Head-to-head matters, even if it was on a neutral site. And Notre Dame went to A&M and won.
Oh, yeah.
Even if that game was on a neutral site, I respect the head-to-head. Y'all had a chance on the field against each other, mano-a-mano, no middleman, and this team won. That's why when you look at these conference tiebreakers, what's the first thing that pops up every time? It's head-to-head because that's what matters.
And here's what's interesting about Notre Dame. In the 4-team playoff era, most of the teams we were talking about played in a conference championship. Most of the time. Okay, we saw Alabama not win the SEC West because Auburn went and Alabama only had 1 loss and they would make the college football playoff. We saw that a time or 2. But for the most part, the 4 teams we were talking about had to risk themselves in a conference championship game. That's why it was so important for Notre Dame. They're saying, hey, you're sitting at home at the end of the year. In a 12-team playoff era, though, we're talking about a lot of 10-2 teams. Like Ole Miss could potentially make it and not play in the conference championship game. That could be a situation that happens with Penn State with only 1 loss, or Indiana, depending on what they do against the Buckeyes. So in an era where a lot of other teams are going to be left out of the conference championship but still favorited to make the college football playoff, Notre Dame's going to be sitting there saying, wait, why are we automatically eliminated at 10-2 or, no matter what their record is, because they're going to say, well, we're up against other teams who were sitting at home as well.
Well, that's why I was someone in favor of, and I know we got to move. I don't want to be too long-winded with this. That's why I was someone in favor of, instead of giving that 5th spot automatically to a group of 5 team, or however you want to put it. That's basically what it is, because the Power 4 conferences are always going to be the top 4. Why would you not have said there's one spot that is automatically reserved for a group of 5 team or an independent team that is ranked higher, which includes Notre Dame. Now, you basically gave that exemption to Notre Dame to not be in a conference. Yeah, you can't get an automatic spot, but you can take an enlarged spot. So you eliminated more teams by giving the group of 5 an automatic spot and Notre Dame not being in the conference or any independent, right? Because the independents are starting to shrink. You notice that? They're starting to slowly disappear. Notre Dame's the basically the last vestige out there. That's why I felt like they should have split it between those two instead of giving them two.
Well, after the Pac-12 collapsed, it kind of helped out the scenario, right? Because at that time, you were going to have 5 power conferences. They had to go in and rework the deal. So that already took one of those spots away.
It's a fascinating thing, but you got to get in to fit in. Speaking about fit, all right, you want to look good. I know it's not beach season yet, but deep down, it's always beach season. All right, we say you got to look good to play good. Why do you think the all whites and the all black uniforms always work out? All right, and if you want arms that you can go out there and show, you want to invite people to the gun show. All right, you want a 6-pack abs like all 3 of us definitely 100% have. All right, do you want a beautiful complexion and feeling about yourself? You need to try out Fitbod. What is Fitbod? Well, it's a personalized workout routine system that's based on your goals, your fitness level, and available equipment. It's like having a personal trainer in your pocket, but better, and they don't annoy you the whole time. All right, what I love about Fitbod is that it adapts to your progress in each workout. It challenges you enough to push you forward, but it doesn't just concentrate on one part. We know burnout's a legit thing. We know fatigue's a legit thing. They do a really good job of targeting the areas to keep you fresh, keep the workouts fun, and you don't have to go to a gym. It's whatever you have around you. All right, it is based on you, which is a beautiful thing. And you can join Fitbod today to get your personalized workout plan, get 25% off your subscription, or try the app free at fitbod.me/booster. That's fitbod.me/booster. You got to look good to play good. And with Fitbod, you'll look good, which means, you're going to play good. Speaking about playing good, we're going to get to the phone lines in a second, but we got some rapid fire.
Rapid fire. Got a couple things here. We'll save a few for tomorrow, but some that we have to get to today. Florida State head coach Mike Norvell has fired both coordinators.
Had to. And it's one thing that there's an old saying in coaching, the coordinators, the assistants are the first to go, but the more assistants you fire, you're digging your own grave because you're what's going to be next. But if you're Mike Norvell, this was forced. You want to know how bad it is? You didn't just have to fire 1. You had to fire 2. You had to basically gut everything that you had built up to this point. But and it's not a fun conversation to have. It's part of business. We see this all the time in all walks of life, in business, in the media business, right? You're not doing what you're supposed to do. That they're going to find somebody else, or you did really good, now you're not doing good. Well, you got to make some changes to get back to that. This is the preemptive warning shot to Mike Norvell from Mike Norvell. Both the coordinators are gone. If you're 4-6, 4-5 right now, or something like that.
After an undefeated
season, DJU didn't work out. Maybe you let a position coach go or something like that. We have hit rock bottom. All right, we were walking around in the ivory tower. We have hit rock bottom. Now I have to show the administration, I've got to show the players, and I've got to show the fans that this is unacceptable. And, they said back in the day, like Stalin, I know this didn't kill anybody, used to purge the generals when stuff wasn't going good. Well, this is this version of that. And I think it's throwing the life raft out there, which tells me next year it better go good for Mike Norvell or he won't be there.
Will Florida State bounce back next year?
I mean, compared to this, I would hope so. It's not
is
hard
Deion going to come in?
Last year.
Hey, hold on. Is Deion Sanders going to come in like he did at Colorado? And they're like, well, we had 1 win last year. We had 3 this year.
It's balling out. Well, at least I guess the special teams is working over there at Florida State. His ass didn't get canned. If there's anything positive, I don't know if I've seen a team, I know we're running out of time, fall off this bad.
I've never seen
after
it
an undefeated season.
I have seen it this bad.
They've won 1 game, David. They've won 1 game, and that was against Cal, who's not a terrible football team, and they won it 14-9. This downfall should be studied.
Selection Sunday took their soul.
They did.
It really did.
No, it did.
The bowl game after
broke
that, and this season.
We got to check on our guy, Danny Cannell.
We got to check on him. Danny, come on in, man.
Yeah,
come on in.
Come sit down. Let's talk about New Horizons.
All right.
Oreo smoothie now.
Last one up for today. Let's talk about Utah Athletic Director Mark Harlan, fined $40,000 by the Big 12. By now, most people have seen his press conference after. I think we have a couple videos here.
Let's play it.
For 12 years, this game was absolutely stolen from us. We were excited about being in Big 12, but tonight I am not. We won this game. Someone else stole it from us. Very disappointed. I will talk to the commissioner. This was not fair to our team. I'm disgusted by the professionalism of the officiating crew tonight. Thank you.
And he went up to a referee.
Yeah, after the game. Right here.
Yeah, let's play this. This is him going up to the referees. It's the AD right there letting them know. And you're not coming to my birthday party.
I love it.
No, here's what I want to. I want two things here. One, I would ride or die for an 8. He didn't come out there and say like, it was a tough contest. We're very discouraged by what. No. He went out there and just spoke the honest to God's truth. When you use phrases like, this game's been stolen from us, like, you remember what Kirby said after the Texas game, too, about the calls and the referees. Like, this is the worst year of officiating we've had. But to come out there and say, this game was stolen from us, the professionalism of the referees was awful, and I am not excited about being in the Big 12 anymore. You want to know what somebody telling you the truth at a podium looks like? That was his Kenny Powers moment. And may I add this? Why do people get fined? I am so sick and tired of coddling officials. I'm tired of it. Telling them how hard of a job they have. The only impressive officials are the ones in the NHL. Because they've got to skate on that while officiating. The rest of y'all, I'm not kissing y'all's ass. I'm tired of it. Why do we get fined for pointing out how bad the officials are? Why are you fined for that? This is America. If he came out and criticized 18-year-old players, he wouldn't get fined for it. If he came out and criticized the Department of Education or the Treasury or whatever, he wouldn't get fined for it. But God forbid you say the refs suck at their job. And all across football, they have been awful. Yeah, awful. Really and all y'all do is make excuses for them. I know they're human beings. I'm not saying their job's easy, but they're not a coal miner. They're not a single mother of 3 in a bad economy. If you want to come out there and say these refs suck ass, you ought to be able to come out there and say that without getting fined $40,000. The worst part is they don't even have to come out and say they were wrong or come out and be like, you know what? They'll give you some bull press release. We take our job very seriously. We're very proud of the officiating. Oh, bullshit. You can't come out and say that was an awful performance by the refs or we're going to fine you. Like, we got to move back. Fines for criticizing officiating need to be eliminated. Because it's a joke.
I really, this year has been really bad. I don't know if I can point you to one well-reffed game. Like, I can't go find a game. Like, those referees did pretty damn good this game. I don't know if I can find that game this year. And it matters, man. Like, it really matters. Like, for amount of teams and coaches, fans, and people who've lost money because the referees don't know how to do their job is beyond.
Oh, but Blaine, you can't say anything bad about them. You can't say, apparently these are the gold standard of human beings. So you want to know why it seems like the referee's been so bad this whole year? Because we have to talk about them. A referee is like a long snapper. You only hear about them when they screw it up. So here's what needs to happen. That's fine. We'll do it here at Crain & Company. Make them full-time employees. I don't want Jeff selling State Farm insurance for half the year and then coming and blowing the game in the fourth quarter for me if I'm Utah. Make them full-time employees. Stop having conference-related officials. We talked about that with Tim Brando. It needs to stop. All right? You make them full-time. You pay them. You don't have conference-affiliated. Oh, yeah, they got to travel. Oh, no. You got to get on a plane. It's Veterans Day. Man up. I'm so sick of the officials being criticized, it being a fine.
The conference affiliation is what is very interesting here. And I'm not saying there's any conspiracies going on, but you can certainly see the case right now where conferences want a certain team to remain undefeated.
You know who that sounds like, David?
Okay. What?
The ACC in Miami. We heard that same complaint.
Well, I know. That's why I'm bringing it up. And it's because of what we just talked about with Florida State last year. You're having conferences say, wait, our best team was undefeated and they got left out of a playoff. Wait, we want this team to make sure that they make the college football playoff because we get more revenue from that,
That's
right?
exactly right.
That's a scenario. That's where this conference affiliation, I think, is going to start being very problematic. So if you have a team like BYU that's undefeated and a team like Utah that's 4-4, there certainly arises an opportunity for conspiracy. That's for sure. I don't take issue with the athletic director's statements at the podium. I wouldn't be walking up to a referee on the football field. I think that's a bad look. Maybe that's mostly what he was fined for. But this call at the very end of the game for BYU, I mean, this is defensive holding. I think you can call this. The problem is if you haven't been calling it like that throughout the game, that's where officiating can be egregious.
Well, and you're exactly right. We say this for every sport. In basketball, if you're going to call ticky-tack fouls, call them both ways. Mm-hmm. In baseball, if you're going to give a pitcher 6 inches on the outside corner, give both pitchers that. This call to me, by the letter of the law, yes, you could probably throw that flag every play if you wanted to. It's kind of like holding on the offensive line. But if you're going to, at the beginning of the game, if I realize as a DB and you realize as a wide receiver, and even you, David, as a quarterback, you know this, that we're going to let y'all play. Like, to a certain extent. If it's egregious, then we'll throw a flag. But they're going to let us play tonight. Let us play not only that way throughout the whole night, but in the most crucial moment of the game. That's where I have a problem with it. I agree with you 100%, David. But, speaking about agreeing, I wonder if anybody on the line...
Well, we got someone from Provo.
Okay.
So should we hear what they have to say?
Let's go and hear it.
Let's go to Sloven in Provo, Utah. What do you have to say, man?
Nice.
Hey guys, what's up?
What's up, dude?
What is up?
It was a pretty good. It was a pretty good week. Both teams I was rooting for won. One on Tuesday, one on Saturday. Can't get much better than that.
Yeah, like I said on Sunday's recap, if y'all keep catching these breaks, I might have to hop in the church transfer portal.
Dude, that was a scary game. I admit I could not watch it for probably about one quarter. There in the third quarter, I was just like, I can't do this. I had to go like watch the score box, on Google because I just like couldn't take it anymore.
That's love right there.
We found a way.
Yeah, listen, BYU, regardless of this call, what Kalani Sitake has done this year, we talk about how Florida State's had such a big fall off. This is one of the greatest comeback years that I've seen because, Sloven, correct me if I'm wrong, his seat was starting to heat up a little bit out there this year.
Yeah, it's Solzen, by the way. I don't think the guy heard me very well. But,
okay.
Yeah, Solzen. Anyway,
gotcha.
Anyways, yeah. No, I mean, it's freaking incredible. We won like 4 games last year in the Big 12, and I was like, I would just be happy if we made it to the bowl game. But
and now
this year has been unbelievable. It's crazy. And eking out a win against, our in-state rival, which, by the way, I felt like there were some crappy calls on both sides of that game. Like, we had a face mask call that I felt like, hey, I don't know if that really was. And then we had the clock ran out on us in the first half, which was kind of our fault. But I'm not saying that the idea that this game was stolen from BYU. Like, the refs are calling stuff on us all night as well. You can criticize the refs, but I think saying it was stolen was just kind of a garbage take, to be honest. But,
I will say this. BYU, even after this 4th and 10, did drive the ball 60 yards.
Oh, yeah. My biggest beef with this is that he got fined. Like, that's the biggest beef I have with it. That's why when David said, maybe don't walk up to a referee and say something, I agree with him, but for me to say that, if you had ever watched me coach, is the most hypocritical thing.
The amount of times I've seen
Jake
walk up to a referee after the game is unhealthy.
Really?
Go ahead.
It's worse during the game.
Part of the reason why he got slapped so hard with that fine was, I don't know if you guys saw, but on that on the kickoff return, there was a flag thrown, and it was a unsportsmanlike conduct on the bench. Apparently, he walked on the field during that play that was going on and was chewing out a ref or something like that is what I heard. I didn't see it because obviously the camera's not watching the sideline. But
I saw.
You can't be on the field during
I agree with that.
When the ball's live.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I also saw in the statement that was put out about the fine, the first thing they said was he questioned our professionalism.
Yeah, no,
that was like
the
top of. I think he hurt their feelings because he came out and said what he really thought, which I've got no problem with.
This rivalry probably just jumped up 3 more knots.
Oh, look. Yeah.
Maybe they're playing 4D chess.
More than a holy war.
Maybe they're playing 4D chess. Yeah. Maybe they really know the conference is in on it, the ADs are in on it.
Well, it's funny you talk about conference affiliation for refs, and you're 100% right. We saw Jim Mora from UConn complain about having to play against a team that had their conference-affiliated refs. This is a conference affiliation problem because they're in the same conference and one team has a chance to make the playoff and the other one doesn't. So it hits both ways, Sullivan. But great call.
Great call, man.
Appreciate it, man.
A lot of Coca-Colas we're drinking after 9 o'clock that night.
All right, let's go to Caveman 2.0 in Alabama. What's up, Caveman?
First of all, hotty toddy, boys.
Wow, what a week. What a week.
Congratulations.
I've got something for Ole Miss tomorrow, Caveman 2.0. Don't worry.
Beautiful, beautiful. So a couple things on that win. Austin Simmons is an absolute stud. He's the future of our program, and I'm looking forward to him next year being QB1. Also, was it me, or did it seem like all 4 phases we just took over? And if so, that gives me a lot of hope for the college football playoffs.
Well, I'll go back to the adage you hear in college basketball all the time. It's not if you get hot, it's when you get hot. And if you look at Ole Miss right now, they're able to win out, which I think they're going to be able to. They are playing their best ball of the season in all phases. But the most impressive part, and we talked about this on the recap yesterday, wasn't just that Ole Miss beat Georgia, it's how they beat them. They didn't need to trick them. They didn't need old lady luck to turn her head around every corner. They didn't need it to turn into a track meet and pray to God you got the ball last. You just lined up and you big boyed Georgia. You out peanut butter and jellied a Georgia team that has made a lot of money out peanut butter and jellying people. And if we talk about the teams that win the most ways. Ole Miss doesn't have to run by you anymore. They don't have to run around you. They don't have to out-think tank you in some classroom in Oxford, Mississippi. They can line up and run right through you. And that's why Lane went and got who he got. And it's amazing. I don't hear a lot of people crapping on Pete Golden now after a lot of Alabama fans called him trash for giving up 19 points a game. It seems whatever they're doing over there in Ole Miss is working.
Well, I think this is the scariest team Lane Kiffin has ever coached.
Has Lane Kiffin? Well, I'm not going to say that yet.
Because of what Jake, the scariest thing that could happen for college football is Lane Kiffin find a defense, right? And this is the reason he went and got 26 guys out of the portal to supplement that offense and defensive line. And now you're showing, there's a clip out there that I saw on X to where the Georgia entire offensive line got swam moved by the Ole Miss D-line. The entire offensive line. Lane Kiffin with a defense is the scariest thing you can walk in.
Again, to put this year in perspective, we are sitting here in November saying that Tennessee, just think about if you uttered this phrase 2 years ago, that Tennessee and Ole Miss's defenses
Stranger things.
Are better than Georgia. Just, if I got in a time machine and went back 2 years ago and said that, they'd lock me up in the loony bin and throw away the key. I'd be right there next to the Joker and the Riddler and Harley Quinn and the rest of them. But it's amazing. It just shows you football's cyclical, man.
Also,
appreciate it, K-Man.
Saints finally got a win, and I'm happy for Coach Riz. Who dat? And y'all have a good one, boys.
You too, man.
Louisiana sports, they can't have two bad things or two great things happen the same weekend.
Appreciate it, K-Man. All right, let's go to Lawrence in Cleveland Heights, Ohio. Lawrence, what's going on?
Good high school football up there.
Hey, what's happening, fellas?
What's up, Lawrence?
Hey, I got a scenario y'all need to think about.
Hit me
y'all
with
were talking about the Notre Dame scenario and Texas and Texas A&M.
Yes.
Let's look at it like this. If you look at the top 25 teams, which all teams have 9 wins, 1 loss, are 9 wins and 2 losses. If you look at them right now, because let's just put this scenario in perspective. What if BYU loses the Big 12 championship game badly?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know who they would play against.
Colorado.
Now you're looking at Colorado. Colorado going in and beat them, just outright beat them. Now you got to look at, okay, BYU still gets in. Now you got to put Colorado in.
Yes.
Now you got to look at the next 10 teams that still would get in. 4 out of the Big 10, 4 out of the SEC. Now the problem is going to be, where would Notre Dame get in at? Because of the loss to Northern Illinois, and then you still beat Texas A&M. Now the only way Notre Dame will get in is because Texas will have, like y'all said, they will have to lose to Texas A&M, and they would not be playing in the conference championship. That's the scary part. I've said this numerous of times. I was telling my nephews this a while back. What if there is no undefeated team in the 14 playoffs? This would be, in the 12-team playoffs. This will never be heard of.
No. Lawrence, it is, and it's funny, it's wild when you can give a scenario and then 3 different scenarios branch off of that. That's why, to me, I'm trying to, at least in my mind, or when we go through these, set some baselines or ground rules on what is the bubble. To be honest with you, maybe we need to take the Joe Lunardi mantle in college basketball and start doing a college football bubble. Last 2 in.
First 4 out.
First 4 out. Because if you look at, Lawrence, what you said, and it's exactly right, and it's a very smart comment to look at the amount of losses. To me, the bubble is set at 10-2. This is all saying we all know if you win the conference championship game, you are in one of the Power 4 conferences. So set that aside. So the bubble is at 10-2. 3 losses, you're gone. You're not making it. So if we set the baseline at 10-2, and you look at the amount of possibilities or the amount of teams that could finish 10-2, right? Just like we do in college basketball, these teams are all in. This is what it's the bid stealers. And that's what you're bringing up. If BYU goes undefeated regular season and loses the conference championship game, I still think they're going to put a 12-1 BYU in. But what if it comes down to what if it comes down to, Lawrence, an 11-1 BYU, or excuse me, a 12-1 BYU versus an 11-1 Notre Dame versus a 11-1 Indiana from the Big Ten? We keep saying all these things that we know. Do we know if Indiana loses by 30 to Ohio State, are they going to put an 11-1 Indiana in? These are the precedents we don't know, but I would set the bubble and the baseline at 10-2 and then move on from there.
And that's the funny thing about it, because I've always said, and I look at it from the standpoint of strength of schedule and your conference games should matter.
Yes.
Yeah, the Big Ten don't play a lot of, big teams out of the SEC or the ACC. But the problem has always been, if you want to be in that conversation for that 12-team playoff, you got to go outside that conference and play against some big boys. If you want to go up against them and beat them, you got to play against them.
That's exactly right. Lawrence, great call, man. Thanks, back.
Lawrence.
Great call, dude.
Appreciate it, man. It's going to be interesting. All right, let's go to Mason in Arkansas. Mason, talk to us.
How's it going? First off, I want y'all to feel bad for Le'Veon Moss. His season ended, and that just kind of really hurts Texas A&M in the oncoming, especially against Texas. That's just a whole bunch of yards they're going to have to manufacture now. But my question is how would y'all rank these 5 teams in the SEC? You have Tennessee playing their absolute best, if Nico and his wide receivers are connecting. Ole Miss, the way they played against Georgia. Then you have Alabama, I guess, coming off a bye, how well they've done. Then you've got Texas, if Quinn Ewers doesn't get flushed, and Georgia, if they go fast on tempo and offense.
So best case, rank them if they're
Best case
all at
scenario.
full strength, is what you're saying. Like they're all their best version of themselves.
I would put Alabama at 1.
I would, man.
I think the way, if Alabama knows who they are and they play like that, and Jalen Milroe has that many quarterback designs runs, and that defense plays like that, that was Alabama to me in that LSU game. I think Alabama has the weapon at quarterback and the athletes around him, if you look at the landscape of college football, to win the national championship.
Well, I see what you're saying. I just don't think they have the horses on defense that we're used to seeing in the past. If I had to rank those top 5, I would rank them in this order, best case scenario. I'm telling you right now, I think Tennessee is my number 1 in the SEC if Nico can figure it out and they start hitting on offense. That's how good I think that defense.
Who would you much rather take at full height, Tennessee or Ole Miss neutral site?
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss. Ole Miss.
Okay.
Ole Miss. I think they're more dangerous on offense.
I mean, I think they're more balanced. We want to talk about complete teams. Ole Miss has looked like the closest thing to a complete team that we've seen.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The past couple weeks. I think, you got to put Georgia in front of Texas because of what we saw happen. You got to put Ole Miss in front of Georgia because of what we saw happen. You got to put Tennessee in front of Bama because of what we saw happen, because head-to-head matters to me. So, I mean, there's many ways you can have it shaken out. I think the argument is probably who's number 1.
Here's one good thing that bodes well for Alabama. Let's just remember what we were saying during that 3-game stretch. You lose at Vanderbilt, right? Like sort of a historically bad loss that everyone's making fun of, and you follow that up. You're beating South Carolina, but you let them back in. Then all of a sudden, South Carolina looks like they're going to win the game. You hold on to win by 2 points, and then you lose on the road at Tennessee. The Vanderbilt and the Tennessee losses look less and less bad.
Hell, the
right?
South Carolina
Texas beat Vandy by 3.
Hell, the barely win over South Carolina looks better.
That's my point.
Yeah.
That's my point.
Yeah.
That 3-week stretch right now, because the week before all that started, you beat Georgia. We were at that game. We all remember it. And then you followed that up with a 34-0 over a ranked Missouri team and a 42-13 win over a ranked LSU team.
Yep.
Yeah, and you just played your best game of the year.
I
Played
agree.
your best game of the year.
Great call, man.
Thanks, Mason.
All right, let's stay in Arkansas and go to Matthew. What's up, Matthew?
What is up, y'all? It is the Heartbroken Hog here, and I'm glad y'all are still feeling like Arkansas is dangerous, because I am not feeling very dangerous right now, coming off our last 2 home performances, which were an absolute embarrassment.
So you're due.
Yeah, well, so to me, you guys are right on the door, because this is what Arkansas does. They give you some hope, then they take it away. Then they give you some hope, then they take it away. You guys are on the give me some hope part of the cycle now. It got taken away. Now you're back on the what's going to happen to give me hope again. And I know, Matthew, that place is going to be nuts.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to be very excited for Texas. I just hope the place isn't empty at halftime. It does seem like our destiny with Sam Pittman is to be a team that beats a couple teams a year we shouldn't, and then lose a couple games we shouldn't every year.
Well, I mean, that sounds like Arkansas's destiny the past 30 years to me.
Yeah, really, no kidding.
But if you're Arkansas in this,
is one of the better rivalries in college football
For sure.
for about 30 years.
and it's still a rivalry. Look, if you're Arkansas, that crowd's going to be ruckus. We all know that. This game's at 11 o'clock. As an Auburn fan, trust me, it always scares the hell out of me.
Oh, God.
Y'all at 11 o'clock.
Thank God it's not Jefferson Pilot.
If you're
scores.
Arkansas, you need this game to be within 10 going into the fourth quarter. Somewhere in that range to where it is grabbable, that belief, that hope, that starts piling up. And we've seen Quinn Ewers get flustered.
And I agree. You're exactly right. You want to be close in the fourth quarter. I think this game is more about the start, though. I think it's more about the start. Can Arkansas prove that they're going to be in the game for the whole game early? Or is it going to start to waterfall like it did against Ole Miss? Because don't forget, Ole Miss got stuffed at the 1 yard line, David. I'm over there watching it at your house on that first drive. Then all of a sudden, Arkansas fumbles the ball in the end zone, gives up that touchdown, and the game just totally flipped. And I think Quinn Ewers, if you can get to him early, and I know T-Will's going to heat him up, you can really fluster him a little bit and keep yourself in the game to get to that fourth quarter point, Blaine. But if you come out in the first quarter and you're down 14-0 and it looks ugly early, it could end up looking like the Ole Miss game.
Yeah. Appreciate it, Matthew.
Players need to prove to themselves that they have a chance, or they're going to let go of the rope like they did against Ole Miss, and that was just embarrassing to see.
It's going to be interesting.
I want real quick. Hey, Texas versus Arkansas since 2000. Arkansas is winning at 4-2. So hey, we're winning that one.
All right, man.
Look, I remember the last time.
Appreciate it, man.
Great call.
All right, I know we're over time, but Joshua, you're the last caller on the line in Knoxville. You got 30 seconds here, man. What's up?
Hey, quick question or a couple questions on Heisman.
Yeah.
I have a bet that I placed in September on Travis Hunter, and it was $5, and its payout is $90. I can cash it out for $35. Should I cash it out?
Man, I don't think so.
Here's when did they announce the Heisman again?
They announced it the week after Selection Sunday, so it'll probably be December 14th.
Can Dylan Gabriel win the Heisman before the Big Ten championship?
The thing is, I don't think Colorado is playing themselves into this now. Like, the buyout should keep going up as Colorado continues to win.
Do not buy that out.
I agree with that. I don't think, I mean, it's, if you had to bet $100,000 to win, like, you know, $1.2 million and they were offering you like $450 to cash it out, then I would cash it out. But since it was a $10 bet, you might as well let that
I would just feel so bad if I cashed this out and he won the Heisman. Right? These are one of those bets. First of all, phenomenal bet.
Yeah.
Phenomenal bet. These are the type of bets you ride till the end, buddy.
Yeah.
These are the type of bets. Do not cash this out. You'll sleep a lot better with your head on that pillow at night if you don't.
Thanks, man.
And then second question.
Oh, go ahead.
Does Ashton Jeanty get the same kind of attention if he was, say, in the SEC and then, like, maybe playing for Alabama?
He'd be getting had the same numbers and had the same numbers or had fewer numbers. This was my point with Dylan Sampson.
Yeah.
Like, Dylan Sampson's 1,100 yards and 20 touchdowns are as impressive to me right now as the 1,700 yards and 23 touchdowns. I mean, Ashton Jeanty made
context.
If Ashton Jeanty had those numbers,
compare him to Dylan.
If Ashton Jeanty had those numbers in the SEC, it wouldn't even be close.
Yeah.
Oh no, he'd be there.
Like, if he was to play in the SEC, how do you think he would compare to Dylan Sampson?
I think
they're
Dylan
both
Sampson would be a better running back than him.
No, I think they're both really good backs. I think Jeanty would be better. I think Jeanty would be better.
I agree.
Okay.
Appreciate it, man.
All right, thanks. Hey, great call,
Great
John.
calls, guys.
All right, great calls today, everybody. Make sure you hit that subscribe button in the chat. We're going to get to donos. Listen, 2-0 betting college basketball in the year. That's right. So I'm going back to the well. NFL, boring. Here's what I got. Bama, Will Wade and McNeese State coming to play Alabama tonight. Nice little early season matchup, even though McNeese, got beat by somebody and then just beat a bunch of blind kids. I can't even remember the name of the school. It's awful. So give me Bama minus 18.5 at minus 112. Then Florida and Grambling. All right. I know, a lot of stuff's going on with Todd Golden in Florida right now.
Is he coaching?
Yeah, he's coaching. So, my thing is with that Florida, if they thought it was true, there's no way he's coaching. That's what I think. But Grambling, sneaky good basketball team. I like the over here. Florida scores a ton of points, over 151, going on.
I still think Florida likes firing coaches.
I'm going NFL tonight. Let's go Dolphins, Rams, over 48.5, minus 110. Miami looking better since Tua came back, certainly. Tyreek Hill is questionable, but they still have plenty of weapons on the other side of that. Rams, look, Puka Nacua is going to be able to go. Cooper Kupp's going to be able to go. These are two of the best play callers in the league. Give me the over. And then I'm going to take Miami and LA, largest lead under 14.5, minus 135.
You were so hot on those.
I love it. All right, man, a little anytime touchdowns today, all right? Go ahead and take that first touchdown as Kyron Williams, too, as well. Give me Devon A-Chain, shout out A&M, anytime touchdown, minus 110. And then Cooper Kupp, baby, the White Warrior, anytime touchdown, plus 135. Talking about tricking people.
Ace, what do you got? Dolphins, plus 2.5.
Okay.
Puka.
There you go.
Anytime touchdown at plus a dirty 130. Hopefully don't get thrown out of the game this week.
All right, I'm going to try to roll through these donations quickly. If you donated today, guys, thank y'all so much. Really appreciate it on this side. Let's go to 702 Tafosi with a $2 donation. Confident on Bama, plus 2,400. Natty ticket. Hashtag MillGoat.
Well, I wonder when he placed that. I wonder what their odds are at now.
Let's go to our $5 donation from our cousin Eugene. Only UT and AU have had to face Bama and Georgia every year. This Saturday is for you boys, too. The Giants have fallen. The decade of misery is done. Go Big Orange.
I like your confidence. What I would say is I would just hope for the best, prepare for the worst, and understand that the worst still keeps you eligible for the college football playoffs. So it's you want to win. I get it. but a little bit of perspective here.
Let's go to a $5 donation from Trent Tebow. What's up, man? It says, Josh confirmed Nico is healthy in practice today. Should be 100% for the game. Do you expect the spread to move through the week? 10 points seems like bait.
Well, I think we're already seeing it come down a little bit. I wonder what this ends at. Will it dip below 7? Because to me, anything above 7, 7.5, 8, 9, I'm taking Tennessee to cover that. Really, probably just going to bet the under in this game. If it gets under 7, that's when it gets interesting to me. -6.5, -6, that area.
Let's go to a $5 donation from MJ. Appreciate it. Hey, gents, it's been a great time. The election, it's Veterans Day, so I got some free food. And I joined the married club. Wearing a ring feels weird. Congratulations, brother.
Let's go. It does feel weird. One ring to rule them all. And in darkness shall bind them.
Let's go to a $2 donation from Ty. Thanks, Ty. Our offensive line was like diarrhea through a screen door. I hate Georgia.
Ooh.
Thank you for that
we call that
a
Iranian breakfast.
Mm-hmm. You only get that on Thursdays. $50 donation from Dean Olson. Thanks, Dean.
Dean.
Michigan will beat Indiana on a last-second field goal. Book it.
Hey, for a while.
Hey, not a bad bet.
Hey, for a while.
Not a bad bet. 4-1 odds.
I was seeing it. I was just seeing that pendulum swing in the second half. And Indiana kind of stalled. And then Michigan, almost. Yes, you were close. Hey,
those of us who knew, we knew the whole time.
Did pick Georgia Tech and Rutgers this weekend on dogs. Told you that Georgia Tech, dangerous.
I've never been so unbothered by a Michigan loss because I like this Indiana team.
Indiana's hard not to like.
I just like them. I like them.
They're just hard not to like. Because here's the thing, I don't think anybody's ever really hated Indiana. So nobody's starting from a position of hate.
True.
It's been
except for Purdue.
Indiana.
I guess Purdue hates them.
Yeah, it's like the cross-eyed girl you let sit at your lunch table.
All right, $2 donation from David's favorite humping badger. Hey, Cone, you ready for Wisconsin over Oregon, sucker?
What? Nobody hates her.
I'm still thinking about the cross-eyed girl. I'm not paying attention to what that guy's saying.
I mean, look, nobody hates her, so it's like impossible to not like her. Her jokes may not be as funny, but you still laugh.
$5 donation here. I don't see a name with it. He says Trump's in office. First thing he should do, boys, put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame.
That'd be a gangster move.
Let's go to a $10 donation from Serb. Appreciate it, Serb. Here's my $10 fee for a motivational speech. We have finals in a month. I'm really great at theater at math. Someone okay at world religion and complete and utter ass at astronomy. Someone please help me.
Wait, I've been asked to give a lot of motivational speeches. Is this one about school?
It is.
What classes were they?
It was world religion, astronomy, and theater.
And he's got finals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, play the music. Can't believe they pay me for this. All right, sir, it's all come down to this. You've taken time, you've gone to the classes, you've paid your tuition, you've looked at the stars, you've talked about priests and pharaohs, and you've done plays. But there's one play to make, and that's the winning play. Don't go there intimidated. You own that test. Hell, you took the time to go to all the classes, or at least most of them, or in my case, definitely half of them. But you prepared for this moment. And remember, when in doubt, the answer's always C, or at least like 45% of the time. So if you get stuck, pick C. If you need help with any astronomy or world religion, don't call this guy. But I was in a movie once. So good luck, Serb. You delicious little man.
All right, I love it. A $5 donation from the Beckster. So I wish Kirby would have got this upset when he caught all those guys driving drunk. Someone have a point there?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that tomorrow.
$2 donation from the Gib i3J. Didn't put anything under that, but really appreciate the donation. And the last donation of the day will be a $5 donation from Malachi Mike. Appreciate it, man. Hey, guys, new to your show. Really love you. Definitely have a sub here. Right now, what would you say? Is BYU good enough to win a national championship? Appreciate the sub, dog.
No.
I put it at the same odds.
Like, now that he's subbed, I don't want to say something bad.
Huh?
I'm like, well, I mean.
No, look, you don't need validation for people to like you. That's almost weakness to me.
Thanks, Dr. Phil.
Yeah, I'd rather be hated.
Is your psychology show coming on after?
Yeah. You haven't,
at 4 p.m.?
No, you haven't heard Inside Blaine?
A lot of people have. All right, let's get to this poll. Appreciate all the donations, guys. Who do you think wins? Georgia or Tennessee?
Georgia, 56%.
Balls, 60%.
Wow. Tennessee, 53%.
Wow.
Let's go.
Georgia,
Georgia fans.
Nico's
down,
playing.
Man.
Yeah,
They're down.
baby.
All right, got a great show for you tomorrow. Make sure you're locked in. Have a great rest of the day. Thank a veteran. Again, without them, there is no us. And like the chances of me not getting excited about early season college basketball as well, we're going. Gone. That was clean, buddy. I didn't even move.